Miss,
I could see it. Click on top corner.
Now you are online, Maria, I think.
πάμε εμείς να πούμε.
Ξεκινήστε.
Hello everybody. We welcome you to this small talks under the umbrella of SPA.C.E, small online talks. Today's subject is body and space, and we're going to see two group of people presenting their relations between body, space in this time of enclosureness. First of all, I would like to present myself. I'm Maria Mandalaki. I'm assistant professor in architectural technology and bioclimatic design in the University of Crete, and I'm a lot involved in Pilico team and in body practice as well. Here we have our first group of people that is from Greece. Actually, is Katerina Kava and Katerina Vienna, and Dimitra Kava. Dimitra is a student of architecture in Technical University of Crete, in our university as well. And she's very interested in building and interior design and natural materials. She's a part of Pilico team as well, as a volunteer at the moment. And here with Katerina Vienna, they created the video that we're going to see. Katerina, she's trained as an interior designer, mainly in Italy, and she's very much involved in contemporary dance as part of the group CARE. Her main interest is focusing on the relation of the body reactions to different activities, dealing with creating space, building, and especially using natural materials in the construction. So this video, it's emergence or between their both interest in architecture, in space, and in body language, body environment. So I would not say much a lot. I think it's a good opportunity to see this video. It's the first time that they communicate this video. So let's see it. And then we have some talks about how this video inspiring us.
You are online, Maria.
Okay. I mean, this video is a breath for me. I mean, I liked it a lot. I don't know. It's very inspiring and very strong, I believe. But the important thing is that the creators would talk more about it. As we can see in this video, actually, it's presenting some body reactions in case of emergency and enclosed situations. So body and mind is forced to adapt to specific limits, as far as I understood from this video, and that is very much connected to the confinement that we...
Something new for us, and we try through this electronic medium to present how the body acts in space. Unfortunately, Katerina won't be able to speak today because she had a small surgery, but she's here with us. So the idea was born due to the state of emergency and while we observed the spreading of virus on global scale, we wanted something that could be direct and descriptive of the situation in order to illustrate how the body experiences this new repression. As architects and interior designers, our main goal is how the body lives and experiences space in all its dimension, and not only in the context of residence. The video is developed through actions that we deemed to be important for body during the lockdown. We tried to decode the movement of the body in its personal space and connect them with vocabulary that correlates with staying at home. As we saw in the first part of the video, we begin from the earth, which, because of the infection, has started to break down into smaller pieces until we reach to our personal space and architecture that enclose us, that is our real space. Our main question is how the body copes up with the new situation as a question-response action and how it interacts with it. In this space, we must promote creativity, even though you are in distance from your daily routine, but not from our body, soul, from ourselves. So no matter the effects of the lockdown, our body tries to adapt to the limitation until it achieves its inner freedom.
Okay, so you are actually saying that body and mind reactions within a limited space can be an effective to our spirit, actually. And I would like to be more specific in cases of enclosure that we had. What are the reactions of the body, and what are these new relations that you recognized that are established now between space and limited space, actually, and body? What are these reactions?
Okay. When dealing with harsh conditions like pandemic, we should maintain our inspiration. Distance must act as an opportunity and not as an obstacle, like the creation of the video that took place during the pandemic here in Crete, Chania. So for us, it is important for the body to create, to think, to feel, and to focus on the important positive elements that will develop us spiritually and physically. The body interacts in its personal space, individually or synergetic with its family. Now it's the time to take action. Interventions are made in the space with the aim of aesthetics, ergonomics, atmosphere, mental uplift. You should listen more to your body needs and adapt to the new circumstances. While everything is drastically changing, the Earth goes on seamlessly day to night, winter to spring, spring to summer, the days are passing. The body must not stop, but continue to create and communicate with its fellow human beings, and of course, keep dreaming. So there are lots of ways to react to enclosure situations. The one we chose and presented in the video is creativity. We tried to transform the negative effects, the limits, into a creation in order to react to this situation. This video is an outcome of this creation as a gift of inspiration and of body consciousness as one of the basic leaders of our enclosure life. In the video, we see different reactions of the body, the effort to express itself, and finally how the limitations change its daily life.
Okay, but the situation that we experienced actually is not a very happy, let's say, situation. The confinement is a stressful state of living. And one can say that we have been connected as a panopticon observation way. And this can create unpredictable situations and unpredictable body actions. You think there is also some negatives? I mean, can negative stuff in the body reactions in this state of enclosure?
Confinement is not a desirable situation when you are forced to operate with the panopticon logic. We don't believe enclosure promotes creativity. On the contrary, it creates stressful and negative effects on our body, spirit, human relationships, and generally on social, economic, cultural fields. And as we saw and at the end of the video, a new state of affairs begins. According to our human nature, we need in-person communication, interaction in some degree, and not only through digital media. Although in some situations can be very helpful, like now in the space talks, that even though in distance we are able to exchange opinions, our opinions.
Okay, so the idea is actually how you treat this situation. You treat it in a negative or in a positive way for your creation and for your body expression. But this new situation that our body needs to digest it actually, and the limits of social environment are changing. We need to understand this new situation. The prisoners, for example, that are doing everything in one space, and all their daily duties are in one space. And the idea of the panopticon is there. There is this. I don't know if you know the panopticon is this. Is designed actually the design space that is a circle in circle, and the guard is in the middle, so he can observe all the prisoners. Its panopticon is a Greek word actually, and it comes from this prison, design prison. So one could say that we had this virtual panopticon situation. The enclosure that we experienced was not space design though, but it was virtually actually designed in a very similar way. The body is the first thing that it can react to this virtual panoptic design. And there are a lot of ways of reaction. That is what you showed us actually, Dimitra and Katerina, and through this video. You showed us this trapping and the closure and the limits of the body that we experience in this pandemic enclosure. You are saying actually as well that the body is the first reactor and the first effector of the new situation, and it is difficult for the mind to follow on the one hand. But we will see in our next group actually talk how we can strengthen this mind and body and space relation. So thank you very much, Katerina and Dimitra. We will talk. Was born in Caracas, and she's an architect and trained in Milan, and she has a PhD in Paris in collaborative mapping and slum settlements. But she's at the moment a Ashtanga yoga teacher. And together with Giacomo, that he's an architect as well, and he's trained in Italy, and he has a huge experience in France, Spain, and Kenya. And together, they are a couple as well, as far as I know. They run a Sala in Arona, a lake town in northern Italy. So we welcome you. Thank you for coming. You saw this, Katerina sent Dimitra's video, that actually they are saying how important for the bodies to create and to think and to feel, they say. But we all know that this is not really easy to happen. It needs to be trained, actually. We are born with this ability, but we lose it by distractions that we are having in our lives. So how body practice, you believe, can help this relation between body, spirit, and mind engagement?
Okay, well, hello everybody, and thank you for the introduction, Maria. And yes, we can say that in the context of spiritual practices, as yoga practices, we work with the body, training it to focus in order not to be caught too much into all the stream of sensory stimuli that we constantly are bombarded from. So the body practice, the body exercise, the body training is a training of attention and the ability to sustain direct attention. Our body-mind helps the spiritual practitioners to be present. It expands the perception of time, this focus, and can help us also release stress and anxieties. In this way, we are more confident with ourselves, and so we are open to create, feel, and think better somehow.
This is, of course, within the context of a spiritual practice with a certain rhythm.
And with a tradition, I mean, we try just to condense this idea in a small answer.
The idea of expanding time and being able to focus and staying attentive in order to remove stress and to be able to feel more, to create more. It is, of course, a byproduct of a sustained practice.
Yeah. So the space, does the space arrangements and limits is involved, can enhance body and mind connection? How space can be involved in this?
So the practice needs a frame, container, any body practice. We do Ashtanga, but in general, any body practice that is also spiritual, because we do not work only with the body. It is the togetherness of this body and mind as a whole system, as a system. So there are two things that are important within this spiritual practice context. So rhythm, which is the key, and then the ritual, which will add magic. So a rhythm is given by setting the frame, which is space and time. So you try to do your practice in the same spot at the same time, hopefully every day, or at least 3 or 4 times per week, whatever is the rhythm you decide, it's the rhythm that works for yourself. So in this sense, well, outside the context of the lockdown, you've got a shala maybe where you go, and that is already a clean space made for practice, without distractions and very simple. Yeah.
And where the energy is all directed towards the practice, because it's the only function that happens in this space. So somehow this space is becomes sacred, and because you add a lot of meaning to it.
So when this is it's transported, let's say, to your home, then the way we try to guide our students, which we have been, some of them, supporting online, was, okay, so you try to create some sort of situation that is always going to be the same for your practice. So you choose a room, you clean it, you maybe create a little altar, which you're going to be facing towards during your practice. You choose your time. And so that's your rhythm. And your rhythm is going to be very, very well helped because of this frame that you're giving it. And then you add the magic, which is the ritual. So you create some sense around the practice. You make appointments with your fellow practitioners through whatever it is. Right now we're doing it with Zoom. And you know that there's other people doing it at the same time that you're doing it. So you feel supported. It helps you for you to stay focused. Because maybe if one is alone, we tend to be more distracted, be caught by our thoughts or by our problems, anxiety, or whatever it's going on. So it by adding this sense of sacredness to the practice, then you're getting the magical, let's say, element of it.
And from the poster we created, and that probably is gonna be transmitted soon, we can see how in many ways you can actually arrange the space, because there are some directions you should preferably direct to east, etc. But at the end, every kind of space, if you try to look for a connection with the space, and this is the ritual thing Amanda was saying, can be adapted to host a good quality practice.
Okay, and how, I mean, okay, this is for the practice, let's say, but can we connect these arrangements that you are talking in terms of space arrangements and relation to body with real life, with your scheduled life? Can we make a connection between these two?
There is a practical connection that you make by waking up, arranging your mat space, making agreements with the family members that you need to make an agreement with in order to make your practice work. But then there's also the benefit that you're gonna take to your life, which is you're building a pattern throughout the practice. And by doing it every day, then whether you're gonna become more stable with time. This is all related to long-term practices, not through fast food, let's say, yoga session. It takes time to build this kind of strength, but then you take that to your daily life. So if you're coping with a stressful situation where you have been having your kids around for 3 months because all the kindergartens are closed, by dedicating that specific time and creating that specific space to your practice, then maybe you're going to be able to cope a little bit more. It's not that you're going to be enlightened and problems are just going to slip you, but you might have a little bit more of a grounding when facing disturbances, let's say.
Exactly, and this you are actually asked to do this in all your duties that you have. You are asked now in the enclosed to be focused in the same space in a different duty, in a different activity, and one of these is practicing yoga, and the other is working in your laptop. The other is cooking, and you are asked actually to survive with other people in the same space, in the same limited space. Yeah. So I think that this is very important, the lesson that you are taking from your CV. You are saying that, and I like this phrase a lot, because it's related to the topic of the conference, that there is always room to learn, or just to create space to learn. Can you translate this in the enclosured, in the confinement situation that we are having these days?
It's funny that you say CV. I don't use that word often anymore. So it's funny because this phrase, there's always room to learn or to create space to learn, it does not refer to physical space. It refers to internal space. So the lockdown is not really going to change that, because it is referred to the cultivating something we all have in us, that you can't learn through books, but that you learn through experience. And well, of course, this experience, when it comes to a spiritual practice, are enabled, thank God, to good teachers and silence, breath, points of attention, different elements that are going to help you to build this space within. But it is related to what's going on inside us. So related to our internal, let's say, systems.
The first, let's say, space that we inhabit, our body, and we need to find the space for us to live in our body, let's say.
And in the context of confinement, what happens is that because of practice, you learn to be okay with yourself in whichever condition you are at that moment in that day, because you are in constant contact with whatever is going on with you. So that's the space when we talk about a room to learn. It's good to expand the space within and to get to know ourselves.
Yeah, okay, a very interesting point of view. So time and space actually have a simultaneous existence. But when a space is multifunctional, time cannot be easily divided into different activities. On the other hand, there is a great need of mind to stay in a specific state, focused, in order to be healthy and creative. Though during the pandemic enclosure, the distractions were much more exaggerated. We had these pop-ups, the blink from the phone, the news, because it was the only way of connection. And we need to communicate as human beings. So this can have two sides of you, and positive, the communicative, that we could communicate, okay, using the technology, and a negative, that is the distraction that we were all the time exposed to, because there was no limits actually between communication and distraction.
Yeah.
Can you tell us how the body practice relates to this, I think, and this body space that you are talking can emerge to this, let's say, focus on our duty and focus on our space, on our internal space, and not being distracted from every news. So,
Yes.
yeah, you can tell something about this?
Somehow, this has been a confirmed that many times we need to create our boundaries, even not physical boundaries, but time boundaries and function or activity boundaries. And we're not always so capable to do that. But it's a really, really important capacity to develop because we can't just go on being interrupted by whatever is happening. We need to stay focused, and also we need to stop when it's time to stop and change function, with just leaving aside something that we can develop later on. And this it's a lot important for our health, mental and physical health, because we need to change activities. We need, also to move somehow. We can't stay at the computer all the time. We can't stay too much thinking on the same stuff. We need to move. And this thing of time and space that have simultaneous existence is really nice. It made us thinking that, we define ourselves as holding space holders. We are teachers, but we hold a space for practice. And so the lockdown took this space away. We were deprived of this space where we could teach and have our spiritual practices. So we have always been very skeptical about online lessons, yoga lessons, or whatever lesson online. But this lockdown, we had to take the challenge because we couldn't do anything else.
And we set boundaries right away, because the thing is with the online stuff is that you get all of this free and tutorials and kind of non-organized, very confusing for the mind stuff online. And what we did is, we have a small group of students. We're going to deal with them. Everything is going to be live. Nothing is going to be recorded, because all practices are ephemeral. So you're done with your practice and your practice is destroyed at the moment you finish it. And the next day there's a new one. So we're showing up the same way we show up in our shala, but online, and it ends the same way when we end in the shala, and it just keeps repeating that way. So that's a way of setting boundaries, or I don't know, we turn our cell phones every now and then and just try to read without having the cell phone beside us. And there are different ways you can deal with this kind of distractions. Right. Practice definitely helps you to stay focused.
And the outcome, I would say that the outcome of your new boundaries that you set in the during the lockdown is this poster that you can see, and you can explain us some things about the poster and how the idea to create it, and what's the outcome actually from the poster. Can you tell us some things?
Well, the idea people you came in.
Well, this poster is a kind of tribute to our students.
So that's the outcome, like the let's say pure romantic outcome. It's just like a way of keeping a trace of this period, and we're probably just going to print it and put it in the shala to remind us of what we went through together. And the idea on how we all were in different places but still connected, because we're all connected. And this is something we as human beings are kind of losing, the idea that we are really connected. It's happening. It's not like we are isolated from each other. So that you want to explain the Rangoli story? Yeah.
And so it's structured. Well, you see the sketch of the room where the practice is happening at home. So many different rooms with many different functions. For someone is the sleeping room, for others the living room, for others a space never used before and that took new life. Then you can see the altar, which is something that can change. I mean, someone put a candle and that's it. Other people were facing a window, and for them the looking outside to nature was their idea of having an altar. Other were having pictures of a mother that is really far away, and so on.
So that's the magic they all added to their practices.
Yeah, exactly. And the connection with this space and this practice that they kind of tried to install. And
the limits, I would say that as it is drawn, the limits of the space are actually the boundaries of the mat for this. That you could see that the space you create is actually where your body is moving.
Yeah, it is.
Well, some like us, we had to move furniture in order to fit both of our mats. And there's a very small place where we're practicing in, and we had to kind of get used to it because we were used to practicing in the shala. And after a week, you kind of, it's not too bad at the end.
And these geometries that you can see, it's rangoli. It's a traditional domestic art, we can say, in India, and especially women design these geometries outside at the entrance to mark the entrance and to invite divinities to come into the house, and so also good luck, we can say, somehow. And so all these entrances to the houses of other people and of the divinity, of the sacred in our own house, where we usually don't have a space dedicated to spiritual practice. We forgot about it. Probably in other times we had. In other cultures there is. For example, in India there's this puja room in almost every house, and so yes, it's a symbol, a metaphorical representation of all these exchanges and entrances in other people's life and
houses, because we were entering other people's houses.
Yeah. This is very interesting for me. It is actually a communication poster, I would say. It connects all private space on the one hand, but on the other, it exposes the inner life. It's double.
Yes.
And it's treated having this in mind, or one, it can be see it as a panopticon as well, that we can experience these days. If one can put it in a different way. And this poster reminds me very much the images of Katerina and Dimitra's videos in the beginning, that they show these windows, the frames of the windows of the people inside. The thing is that in your window, you expose as much as you want, and in the camera as well, you're supposed to, but there is also room for observations through the virtual connections that we might not be able to control, let's say, in these windows, these virtual windows. So that's a big difference maybe between the previous and the new situations that we are now experiencing after this lockdown and these new limits that we're experiencing. To domesticate actually the space is to become part actually of the space, and your body to be part of it, as Katerina and Dimitra showed us how to domesticate the space with body reaction. The creativity is a way of domesticating, of course, the space, and the limits, the real and the virtual of the space and time is actually the foundation. They put it the foundation for this creativity that you showed, the video and the poster, I could say, and all the interesting conversation that we have. It was, I mean, I don't know, it was very interesting, these creations, even if they were an outcome of a stressful, I would say, situation, stressful and new situation that the body needs to adapt. We haven't really adapted at all, I think. We need more time, and that's why we're trying to create different stuff. It's very, and these talks inspired us a lot on the one hand, and on the other, they motivate us and to observe our body arrangements now and its relation to the space limits, to this new space limits, the virtual limits, on the one hand, that they are becoming stronger, and the experience, the new experience of the social limits that are becoming different in a way. So I don't know if you can have something to add. I think it was very interesting having both of you, both the groups. I would say, because I didn't say it in the beginning, that Katerina and Dimitra and me were part of Pilico team. I forgot to tell it about Katerina, and she was very upset about, so I would like to say this. And I would say bye to this session. Thank you, Amanda. Thank you, Giacomo, for
Thank you very much.
things. And thank you, Katerina and Vienna, for everything and your creations and your talks. So, bye. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
There are some questions.
There are questions.
There are some questions. So let me see. Can you? It is important, in your opinion, to design public open spaces in order to allow this kind of practice? It's a question for you that we had this question as well. I had this question as well before, but you can answer them, I think.
So, well, in general, I think we architects, planners, we should all start considering more this strengthening of the mind and giving more room to develop spiritual practices. The Ashtanga practice, which is what we're doing and what we practice every day, it is designed to be done indoors and not outdoors. So and that is kind of a problem in the West, because you have to face rent and you have to face a lot of bureaucratic problems and issues that just come up for just to open a room to place mats in it. So yeah, maybe one day public spaces will include this kind of more shared rooms where rents are aided or subsided by municipalities or government, I don't know, and to kind of allow and make this practice more accessible to more people. Well, not more people in terms of number, but to all sorts of people, and not just to those that are able to pay certain membership in a certain studio with certain characteristics. But that is for Ashtanga. There are so many other practices that can be done outdoors, and for which space it is, of course, needed and important to have open, let's say.
Yeah, the design, the
just
public
to say,
a need that we have anyway, especially in Greece, that we lack of free public spaces. And it was one of the benefits that we had in this lockdown, that we had plenty of public space for the first time, and we didn't have to sit in specific private spaces arranged for this purpose, for certain purposes. So we can see one of the benefits of this lockdown situation. Okay, I don't think we have other questions. So thank you again very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hope you create new video, Katerina and Dimitra, and
Now part
and you, Giacomo and Amanda, continue please to provide this very interesting practice that you're doing. Thank you.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.